Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sheila Zilinsky Show. The show today is sponsored by EMP Shield. You know, the head of the U.S. Military Central Command said a grid shutdown situation, it's not a question of if, but when. EMP Shield is the world's first whole home and vehicle EMP protection device tested at the nation's most renowned military certified testing centers. The EMP Shield surpassed all EMP testing standards. This is an amazing product. EMP Shield has models for your home, vehicle, generator, solar system, radio, RV, and even comes in a portable travel and camping model. EMP Shield is scalable to any size you need, and installation is a breeze. There is no product on the market like it, which is why I put my name behind it. Because as you know, I only promote the best products, and EMP Shield, it is the best product in its class. Use the link below or code Sheila to save $50 off each product. That's code Sheila and save $50 off each product. Why EMP? Because it protects, period. Green Gospel, the New World Religion by Sheila Zilinsky. Chapter 2. The Big Lie. If you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequent enough, it will be believed. Adolf Hitler. The Reverend Thomas Robert Malthus was an English scholar who studied the fields of economy and demography. His An Essay on the Principle of Population observed that sooner or later, population will be checked by famine and disease. This led to what is known as the Malthusian catastrophe. Malthus proposed a theory in 1798 that population would grow at a geometric rate while the food supply grows at an arithmetic rate. The theory has been touted as flawed because of the limited factors observed when he developed the law. It does not include factors such as technology, disease, poverty, international conflict, and natural disasters. In a nutshell, Malthus believed that population growth would exceed the food supply. As Paul Johnson explained in his biography of Charles Darwin, Malthus' aim was to discourage charity and reform the existing poor laws, which he argued encouraged the destitute to breed and so aggravated the problem. Malthus' law was nonsense. He didn't prove it, he simply stated it. What strikes one reading Malthus is the lack of hard evidence throughout. Why did this not strike Darwin? Darwin was an atheist and a believer in survival of the fittest and was an ardent promoter of Malthus. In fact, he took a copy of Malthus's An Essay on the Principle of Population with him on his voyages to the Galapagos Islands. Darwin's Theory of Evolution, published in 1859, just 11 years after the Marxist Manifesto, provided two critical components of the deconstruction of Christianity and the emergence of environmentalism as the new religion. It provided scientific justification for the economic and social theories of Marx and others. It also eliminated the need for God to explain human existence and our difference from other animals. This created many changes, but two are of great importance to our argument. First, his theory led to the creation and the dominance of the social science in universities. All the disciplines of the social sciences examine humans and their behavior. They became necessary because Darwin had removed God as the explanation for humans and their differences from other animals. Second, it left people, especially the young, with a moral and intellectual vacuum that provided the ideal conditions for a new religion. An article of faith among the neo-Malthusians and environmentalists is that the world is getting far too crowded and something must be done. Playing straight from Marx's playbook, Paul Ehrlich, a Stanford University professor who has long opined that there are far too many people requiring far too many resources and producing far too much pollution, authored best-selling social engineering books, including The Population Bomb, which gained him a reputation amongst environmentalists as a prophetic guru. He remains an icon with their movement, even though almost all of his predictions were wrong. Ehrlich's conviction about overpopulation allows him to blame people for most of the world's problems, especially in the environment. There are just too darn many of them. His solution has always been total population reduction and control. Ehrlich's ominous allegations included equating the Earth's surplus of people to a cancer that must be eradicated. As he explains, a cancer is an uncontrolled multiplication of cells. The population explosion is an uncontrolled multiplication of people. We must shift our efforts from treatment of the symptoms to the cutting out of the cancer. This operation will demand many apparently brutal and heartless decisions. He is an example of an atheist playing God. Ehrlich's madness was further revealed in his dictatorial action plan. Our position requires that we take immediate action at home and promote effective action worldwide. We must have population control at home, hopefully through changes in our value system, but by compulsion if voluntary methods fail. That's correct. That's in his book, The Population Bomb. In other words, forcing you if voluntary methods fail. Ehrlich argued that population sacrifices must first begin in the United States of America. He dismissed the responsibility of the two most populous countries, China and India, from having to adopt the drastic steps he advocated the U.S. must first take. He did this because the U.S. was not only overpopulated, in his view, but that population was based on capitalism and using up resources faster than less developed nations. This idea of setting developed against less developed nations appeared later in the Kyoto Protocol. It penalized only developed nations, with them paying less developed nations to offset the damage the developed nations had done. It was purely socialistic, massive transfer of wealth. Ehrlich asked if Americans would be willing to slaughter our dogs and cats in order to divert pet food protein to the starving masses in Asia. One proposal often mentioned by Ehrlich was the addition of temporary sterilants to water supplies. I said that correctly. Temporary sterilants to water supplies or staple food in order to achieve a zero population growth. Ehrlich forecasted that one of three scenarios would likely occur. First, there would be global food riots and war could break out. He cast the U.S. as the worldwide villain because of this country's insistence on using agricultural chemicals that would have been banned by the United Nations. Second, more than 1 billion people would die in 1 year alone because of disease and plague precipitated by overpopulation. And third, people would simply perish due to mass starvation. Hundreds of millions of people will starve to death. In the 1970s and 80s, he wrote, most of the grim results would occur by the 1980s, and the calamitous outcome would be determined before the year 2000. After the publication of The Population Bomb, Ehrlich made an updated pronouncement that the United States population would dwindle to less than 23 million by 1999. And Ehrlich came up with a new twist to sell his neo-Malthusian snake oil by combining patriotism with the number of children a couple may have. In 2009, he told the Christian Science Monitor he wanted patriotic Americans to stop at 2 as a resolution of the world's biggest problem, overpopulation. Folks, I hope you are enjoying this part of this chapter in Green Gospel. For the full show, go to the description below and click on the link. You can find the full podcast over there at SHEILA'S.com.